Welcome back to Broken Electronics. Thank you for stopping by today. This should be interesting because this is going to be a very, very different kind of video. I usually do videos on computers, most commonly upgrading older computers, all the way from the 2010 Mac Pro down to year 2000 Power Mac G4s, which has been a lot of fun. But while the content of the channel may not make this seem true, I actually do use newer tech. Now, the newest computer I use on any kind of regular basis is a 2015, so there's that. But I do have, an iPhone, not the newest iPhone, but recent. And I do have an iPad. Actually, I have an iPad Pro. Now, I've been an iPad user for a long time. And no, I'm not going to be reviewing the iPad. But I got a new keyboard for mine. Now, one thing about the iPad, when I first got mine, yeah, and it was great in a lot of ways, but trying to really use it to its optimum capabilities was not going to work. Because, well, let's be honest with it. The on-screen keyboard, how much are you really going to be able to type on that? Not that I'm much of a typist, but still, how much can you do? So, Apple, when they released the first iPad, had a keyboard with it. So I got one, but what a disaster that was. It was basically the Bluetooth Magic Keyboard that they would ship with Macs, with a 30-pin dock set into the top of it, which meant when you plug the iPad in, the only way to do it was in portrait mode. Now, who the heck uses their iPad in portrait mode? It's nice to be able to do it for looking at certain pictures, for certain applications. I'm glad that the possibility is there. But day in, day out, I, like most people, use it in landscape mode. So I started researching keyboards. I've had a bunch. I had a Zag keyboard, which was not bad, but kind of fragile. It didn't last well. I had a Bridge, supposed to be very, very good. It didn't work for me at all. Very frustrating. And those were Bluetooth. Those all were Bluetooth keyboards, of course. There were a couple of others I tried along the way. Finally, when I got my first iPad Pro, which was a first generation, the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, I got a smart keyboard along with it, which worked. I mean, connecting with a smart connector was way better than connecting via Bluetooth. It was not exactly like typing on a real keyboard. Now, of course, they're undersized keys, but I'm kind of used to dealing with that with the iPad since we've got the smaller one. I was very frustrated with the fact that there was no way to disable the caps lock. I always disable the caps lock, but that's a personal preference. It's no big deal. Very hard to see typing on it. Well, but it was the best option available. Well, I then upgraded to the second generation of the 11-inch screen. That was a pretty big upgrade. Never went to third. Just not a big enough bump to make it worth spending money on it. So I got... Do I have it here? Oh, yes. Another smart keyboard. Well, within a month or so, it just died. You couldn't connect it. You'd put it in, put it on there. It wouldn't connect. So I brought it to the Apple store. Apple noticed the problem. They replaced it for free. And since then, that's in fact this keyboard. It's worked pretty well. The problem is recently it's just stopped connecting. Now, I don't know, the magnetization was not strong enough on the keyboard, I guess, because it would keep losing contact. I'd have to reset the iPad back in there. I tried cleaning it. Maybe that's the problem. That didn't do any good. More significantly, though, it kept losing communication with the iPad. And the only way I had to get it back was to take the iPad off it, put it back on, and then it would work again. And that was getting worse and worse. I figured, okay, this is just on its way out. Long out of warranty. They're not going to replace it for me a second time. So I was thinking towards, what can I get to replace this keyboard? I absolutely need to have a physical keyboard in order to use that device to anything like its full potential. And of course, Apple recently came out with the new Magic keyboard with trackpad, which looked very, very promising, very enticing. It also costs $300. Well, that's a lot of money. So I kept using the old smart keyboard, figuring, okay, this is going to go as long as it possibly can. Well, then I saw it was actually it was a Max Tech YouTube video reviewing this guy. This is the Logitech Folio keyboard with trackpad, and it's available for the iPad Pro 2nd generation and the iPad Pro 3rd generation. I think they're slightly different. I may be wrong in that. Didn't matter. I was looking specifically for the 2nd generation. And it's not a perfect product. There is no perfect product, but it is really good. And $160. Now, I really needed a keyboard. Had my smart keyboard been behaving a little bit better, I would have waited on it, because surely that price is going to go down. Only way I could get it was either directly from Logitech or directly from the Apple Store. I got it from the Apple Store. And that's full price. But still, you're talking almost half the price for something that's got pretty much all the functionality. In some ways, it has advantages, and also in some ways disadvantages. But for the price, I'm really happy with it. Now, one reason for that, you notice here how my Apple Pencil is connected and charging with the iPad. They've got a clip to go over it. Magnetizes and catches the back. Now, I got an Apple Pencil early on too, and the original Apple Pencil was nice, but that whole business charging it, you took the cap off and plugged it into the lightning port. What's up with that? There was no good place to keep the darn thing. And I never used it much. It was handy to have if you really needed a stylus, if you needed to make a signature or something, great. If I happened to have it with me, since there was no good place to store it. I was quite excited when this one came out and it charged magnetically at the top of the device. Except when you carry it around, I was constantly knocking it off. It would get in the way. what a pain that was. So now, when you do transport the device, it is on there very, very securely. All right, now, downsides with it. Thickness. Do I have it quickly available? Yeah, I do. Should have prepared this. Now, this is my 2015 15-inch MacBook Pro. With the Logitech case on it, yeah, you're not going to see that. Well, yeah, I think you can see it. The iPad is actually slightly thicker than the MacBook. Weight, the MacBook is still heavier to be sure, but this has become a pretty heavy thing. It's got pluses and minuses, to tell you the truth. If we open it up. Yeah, another negative, you really have to use two hands in order to open the device. So that's a negative, but you know, all of this thickness and weight around the screen does a couple of things. One, it is much, much more protective than the Smart Keyboard, or I gather the new Magic Keyboard or Trackpad is. There's actually this lips up above the edge of the screen, gives you some drop protection, which is, you know, an important thing. I try not to drop it. It is handy to use. Well, there is a kickstand that comes out from the back of it, which has both advantages and disadvantages. Advantages with so much weight there, and that kickstand on there, you can use it on your lap very, very comfortably. That's a definite positive. Negative, it takes up a lot more room from the end of the kickstand now to the end here. Now, what else can I show you, before we look in more closely at the device? Yeah, I think we're pretty much done with the overview, looking at the outside. It's attractive. I suppose, wish the gray on it was a little darker, more matching the space gray. But then again, you can't even see the space gray now. But yeah, it works there. The old one, it would constantly flop over if you're trying to use it on your lap like this. This will sit there. It's a little heavy, but, and yeah, the angle you get at the keyboard is not that great. All right, I think that's about as far as we're going to be able to take it now. So I should get the camera set up on the tripod and take a little bit of a look at this device in action to see what else we have going with it. So please, if you find this at all interesting, stay tuned. Okay, this is my second generation 11-inch iPad Pro. It's running iOS 13, iPad OS 13, which is not a super significant deal because the focus here is really on the keyboard. First thing I would mention, the feel of the keys. Now, I'm not going to really demonstrate the typing, first of all, because I'm the last person who should be demonstrating good typing. But I can tell you, having used this for several days now, the feel of these keys is quite good. There's a decent amount of travel in them. Not a lot, but you can feel it. And you know very clearly when it's pressed. The backlighting is not super powerful. The backlight is on now. probably can't see that at all, but it's enough, particularly when it's very dark. You can see this much better certainly than the smart keyboard. Again, the difference in typing on this and the smart keyboard is night and day. I've noticed it. Okay, the backlight just went out. So yeah, you type on it, it activates. Fantastic, really. I've noticed it particularly in texting. It's just so much easier. Now, trying to text on an iPad using the on-screen keyboard is not a pleasant experience. You're actually better off double thumbing on your iPhone or mobile phone of your choice. On the smart keyboard, it was certainly doable, and it worked pretty well. I wouldn't have been without it using the iPad. But, I would gravitate to the computer, a lot, just because the keyboard was so much easier to manage. I feel a lot less like that using this. It's very good. Now, functionality. In the letter and number functions, pretty much the same. You do have an emoji keyboard there. It won't really activate because you need to have the cursor, the insertion point activated in order to bring that up. But it works very well. Yeah, the caps lock. You can't deactivate the caps lock here. I've found, though, I'm less likely on this keyboard to hit that caps lock inadvertently than I was on the smart keyboard. I don't really know for sure why that is, but it's very true. A negative, there's nothing to indicate that the caps lock is on when it's on, except when you start typing in all caps. It would be nice if there was some sort of light that would warn you, much like any computer keyboard will do. All right, now this is nice. There is a row of function keys up above here that gives a great deal of functionality. You can control screen brightness. Works really nicely. Now, there are some other things. When you get right over it, you can see how well the backlighting is lighting things up. You've got music player controls, pause, rewind, back, forward. I suppose that will work in videos too. Now, you do have volume. You can mute the volume. So, and that's very handy. If you're used to using the volume buttons up here, well, it's kind of awkward to get up there, actually, but they work on this case, but it's a little harder to just find where they are. But this works extremely well. And you do have a key over here that will blank the screen. So again, you now no longer have to reach up here if you want to blank the screen. Turn it back on. Interesting to note that for me, from the side, it still picked up, Face ID still picked up my face, which is good. I didn't have to turn the iPad away from the camera. All right. Now, this can be handy. It's going to take some getting used to. I think in the long run, I'm going to like it. The problem, however, is using the delete key. I am so used to that delete key or backspace key being at the very top row of keys that I very often blank the screen when I'm just trying to backspace over a letter. Oh, well, there you go. That happens. Number keys. Whoops. Number keys, which yeah, or excuse me, up and down arrows, side to side arrows. Those work very, very well. Yeah, it's a far more functional keyboard than I was used to with the smart keyboard. Now, the other thing to talk about, the trackpad itself. You know, this is the Folio keyboard with trackpad. There was a version of the Folio keyboard, of course, prior to this that did not have a trackpad. All right, and it does work, and you do get now. You see when I'm moving along the trackpad, you don't get the usual kind of arrow cursor that you're used to seeing. You get this circular thing, but that's fine. You just adapt to what it looks like. And the click works perfectly nicely. And yeah, this is Safari, where I have pulled up a PDF of the handbook for the Newton message pad. Kind of appropriate, I think, given that's sort of the far-off ancestor of the iPad. All right. Two-finger scrolling works fine. Now, I had a little awkward. I tested this out. I'm off to the side here so that you can get a good view. You can maximize. It's a little too sensitive, but if you need to enlarge the text, you can zoom. Two fingers out, zooms. The two fingers coming back in, doesn't. Now, to close out of a window, you're used to swiping up from the bottom. You don't really have to do that here. You can just tap there, and it works fine. All right, now you've got something else I was going to show you here in this. I'm not going to click on links or open anything, but you can see how the cursor has. Okay, I messed that up. Okay, I was able to highlight text very, very well. Something which can be quite a pain to do with a touch input. But here it's very much like doing, with a real computer and a real keyboard. It's just awfully nice, I will tell you. And clicking on a link. If you were to click on a link, if you imagined, well, you can't do that because this is all text. It's going to try to be ready to highlight and copy. But boy, is that simpler to do. All right. Now, yeah, we can open here. See it? Yeah. If we were to pen, oh, I know what we can do, I think. Control center, let's look at general. Add VPN configuration. If you're clicking on a link, sometimes it can be a little difficult to get into exactly the right place. Well, you just can be so much more precise here. So yeah, I had thought it would be handy to have this. I tend to use the trackpad a heck of a lot more. Now I wonder what will happen. Now it just opened it. But yeah, a lot of other gestures work. I need to find a good example of something that's got a context menu, a two-finger tap, a two-finger press, excuse me, is going to open the context menu exactly like it would in a computer trackpad, which is very, very good. Now, on the downside, I do find there are certain websites, not many, and probably certain apps, although I haven't really run across one, which don't respond to trackpad commands. And you end up having to reach up to touch the screen. That's probably going to go away as developers become much more used to the fact that the trackpad exists. Another side benefit I hadn't been expecting. I found myself using the Apple Pencil much more than I had before. Because simply, it's always right there. I would always be taking it off the iPad because if I didn't, it would fall off. So it stays charged because it's always connected there. When I close it up, I can, with this magnetic clip, make sure it stays in place. This is all really good. I wouldn't say that it has replaced the touchscreen, but I don't touch on the screen all that often anymore. One nice thing that it does, just by flopping it over like that, you can be in a tablet mode. You want to do something that requires you to be in portrait mode. Unfortunately, there's some apps that still tend to. Perfectly easy to do, and you can deal with it. It is heavy, kind of hard to hold the thing in one hand while you are interacting with the screen with your other hand, but it's an option. All right. Yeah, the magnets are strong. It is certainly true that I need two hands to move out the kickstand. I have to use two hands to open the case to begin with. Small prices to pay, really, all in all. It is very true. With this keyboard, and with the trackpad particularly, using this iPad just takes a huge jump ahead in terms of really seeming like I'm using a computer. A very cool thing. So yeah, if you're thinking of a physical keyboard and are intrigued by Apple's Magic Keyboard, which I'm sure is a worthy device. I've never used one. But you look at the price tag, $300 in tax and all of that. And from the Apple Store, you can get this for, $159.99 as these things tend to be priced. So that's going to conclude this review. It went on a lot longer than I thought, but it's a great product. And no, of course, I'm not receiving any kind of sponsorship or anything at all from Logitech in this, but it is a great product. So, in any event, be good to other people. Let's make the world a better place. Be good to yourselves so you can enjoy that better place. The world really isn't a better place right now. Until such time as we can make it one, take very good and careful care. We will be back with you very soon with more videos. Until that time, this has been Broken Electronics.